Welcome to this class where we continue looking at the various soil testing principles and methods. In this class, we want to recap at the various aspects or facts that we had learned in the last class. Soil testing is an acceptable, accurate, and rapid soil chemical analysis approach for assessing the various nutrients in our soils and making a new fertilizer recommendation. It involves four main steps: soil sampling, preparation of a soil sample, extraction and analysis of the available nutrients in a given sample using an appropriate laboratory technique, and lastly, interpreting the soil analysis for a nutrient recommendation. Soil sampling usually must be done, and it must be representative of the field or the part of the field that is being tested. There are different approaches to soil testing that can bring up result into a representative sample. The first one is what we are referring to as a random approach. In this case, you take samples at every part of a given field, just randomly. The next one is what we call as a zigzag approach. Using a zigzag pattern, you take samples within and without the zigzag shape that is resulting from the zigzag pattern. In large fields, you do what we call as sub-sampling. You create some smaller sampling sites within a big sampling site. Within these smaller sub-sampling sites, they form like a block. In the first block, take a few samples. In the second one, take a few samples until the last one. That is what we call as sub-sampling, and it only occurs in a large field. You will also note that it results to so many samples, and so is the cost for analysis and transportation of the resultant samples. Another approach to soil sampling is what we call as the fixed grid sampling, where you take samples in one direction. For instance, in this block, take samples. In another block, take another number of samples and another number of samples, ensuring that all samples cover the top, bottom, and middle parts. The other one is what we are calling as the random zigzag, and it looks like what we had previously. Using a zigzag shape, take the samples at each of these sampling sites. The last one is what we call as the targeted sampling approach, where you only target a specific area based on a previous history. For instance, in this case, the samples was taken here because the physical appearance of the area was found to be slopey and more prone to soil erosion. At the bottom here, the samples were taken because it was darker in color, and the suggestion was the eroded part must have come down to the eroded soil must have flown down to this part at the bottom. Also, there are other approaches that have been suggested in literature on sampling, what we called as random, and a new one on what we are calling as diagonal. And in each place, make a zigzag shape and take samples within a diagonal line of your field. Also, you can use a horizontal line and take samples at each area on top and in the bottom, making a zigzag line again. Also, you can test lots. However, you need to note that testing lots of soil also has got costs implications, especially if your funding is limited. Soil sampling requirements. What do you need to do a soil test? Some of the tools that are used in soil testing include a shovel, a spade, augers, and a culpy, as shown below. These tools, prior to soil testing or taking a sample, they must be cleaned, and sampling must be done within a specific depth and location. And these characteristics of depth and location must be included during the packaging of this given sample. The samples, once removed from the soil, should be put in a clean bucket and mixed for uniformity before they are packaged for transportation.